Wow. I think this actually might be working. We just need to test the audio. Hello, everyone.
What am I doing?
Go to my YouTube channel and, like, on the channel main page, it should show my live video, and we need to make sure the audio is working. So my wife is checking from her cell phone. I am recording today from a little miniature laptop that is... Oh, the audio's working! Look at that! I can't believe this! I'm recording today from a mini laptop that is VPN to my desktop. Okay, now it's getting weird because I'm hearing myself talk over there. All right, anyway, so today we are doing statistics. In part 1 and part 2, we were doing the data wrangling, and in my VS Code, the data wrangling script is still open, but it's actually done. So now we're on to Stata. We're starting from a blank slate. I need to make a do file. Boop, 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 boop.
Sam, come here.
Yeah, and you might hear stuff in the background, so have fun with that.
Do you remember this?
All right. Let's get the folder structure set up. Yeah, I just dropped the do files in the data folder. I think that's okay. So I will not be doing dynamic OLS in this study because I don't have much longitude. I don't have many temporal samples over time for personality. So I do need a variables creation file. We'll want to do a basic exploration. No dynamic OLS, no vector autoregression. There, of course, will be a regression table. So I'll copy these files to start with. You can probably rename basic exploration. Yeah, we'll probably do a linear. Total of 4 do files, probably. Boom, boom, boom. Actually, we'll even copy over dynamic OLS, even though I'm not doing that.
Can you hear Jesse in the video?
This is all available on GitHub.
It is Dada. And that's yours, or you?
Okay, so this will not be dynamic OLS. This will just be OLS. Boop. This will not be 8 regression table. This will be 4 regression table. Okay. So just getting the structure ready, the content of these scripts will change, but some of it I'll be able to keep because... Actually, no, I won't be able to keep it. I just kind of use these normalized names. Analysis bar. You see I have a few of them. Here is the Alt-Ed Covid Grit Ocean, which is today's study. Now this is an old SurveyMonkey, so let's see if there's anything cool here. Collector effects, yeah. Gen industry. Okay, so I should basically just copy this guy because it's got some stuff that I'm going to need. Boom. I don't know if I need all this stuff. Here's split in date, data friendly. I also want to calculate time that it takes a person to complete the survey, because I noticed there's a pretty wide variance, and I think it could proxy for like stuff like IQ. Could also proxy for like personality traits like curiosity or thoughtfulness, but I have separate measures of personality, so after correction, could just leave IQ potentially, or it could be nothing at all. So in date. Do I have start date? Split in date, I did. final output, which is wrangled write CSV output. Totally see videos 1 and 2 if you want to know how this guy's created. So here's end date. Do I have start date? I like to have start date, I think.
Hey, can you get out from behind the baby?
I think I should be able to have it. Let me look at source before wrangling. See, there's start date. Okay, so I just need to add a quick column. This won't take long. I'll just add a quick column definition and rerun the wrangling scripts. So here's column transformations, and we have end date. Okay, so we just need to add start date. And then the question is, like, if we're going to subtract start date and end date to get the time to complete this study, should we do that in JavaScript or in Stata? Where is my VS Code? And I think the answer is it depends how hard it is to subtract dates in Stata. So let me look at this do file. So C time 1, and then we will split start date. We will generate start date Stata friendly. Just following that pattern. End date Stata friendly, start date Stata friendly. Where did end date 1 come from? Are there multiple end date things? Okay, there are, yeah. Okay, because I split it. So in my output file, I think split is at the space. So that is start date 1. But I don't think anybody took more than like a few minutes. So I actually need the second item there. Okay, so subtracting the time might be easier in JavaScript. Let's see if I can parse this date. Boop.
What are you doing, you silly?
Zero 52. I don't know where that came from. 052. There's like some Excel formatting behind the scenes, maybe. Zero 52. Well, what on the earth? It is 1252. Yep. So I think this is Excel formatting stuff behind the scenes. It's a good thing we logged it out. And I don't think, yeah, this really should be two different columns.
Do you want this? Ouch.
Okay, so we're already splitting it, so I don't actually care about the start date, except for the purposes of calculating that time difference, so I'll get rid of that. Okay, so start date and end date. So start date will be a transient column because we're going to use it and then delete it. Transient column. True. And the generated child matches, we will just have seconds. I think seconds is fine. Maybe we should do this at the minute level. I'm thinking about sampling effects. If I can get more samples in each category, that will improve the ability to detect something. Let me look through the source and try and get a feel for actual completion time. I think in the range of 10 to 40 minutes. It's a fairly wide range, right? I think that's the close to the true range.
Where's the blue button on the train? Where's the blue button?
Okay, so that was 2 minutes. Oh, 3 minutes. 4 minutes. 2 minutes. This is definitely going to interact with administration now that I think about it. 1 minute. 1 minute. So this is fairly quick. And then this one is the one that I was thinking of that took substantially longer. So that took 15, 7, 4, 2, 5. So it looks like the minute level is fine. I actually don't even think SurveyMonkey is recording the seconds. So I might be able to take a shortcut here. It's not always valid, but if I just subtract out the minutes, they'll have some measurement error, but I don't think it will have any. I don't think it will be a systematically biased measurement error. People who take the survey from X59 to X03, for example. Nah, I don't need to cheat that. And the measurement error will water down significance too. So I think it's gonna be pretty straightforward to just do the subtract, do the real comparison. Okay. So we'll do minutes. Minutes to complete survey.
You want the other card? Say please.
Completion time, minutes.
Say please.
And let's make a transformer function.
Okay.
Oh no, I scrolled down way too far on this tiny laptop.
And your cow? What does the cow say? Moo. Moo. Hamster. What does a hamster say? I know we haven't taught you that one yet.
I think that's correctly formatted.
Hamster says. 1 and 2. You have 2 toes? You got it? Good. What else you got? What does the piggy say? Good job. What's the hamster say? Hamster says eyes. Those are his eyes. Yep. Nose. Yep. Where's his ears? Where's his ears? Ears. Nose. Yep, that's nose? Where's his paws?
Okay. So.
His feet. Where's his feet? Legs next to feet are called paws.
I have the cell value for start date, but I would like the cell value for end date as well.
You have two pom-poms, one pink, one yellow. Pink. Mm-hmm. Pink. Yeah. Pink. 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 No, pink. You don't want pink? How about yellow? Yellow. Hey, look, I found a big chalk. Big chalk. Big chalk. Fish, octopus, penguin, and another fish. That fish. Got a whale too. Look at this. What kind of whale? Uh-oh, Mama dropped it. You want to try to help with me with puzzles? Help me with small block today. Okay, I found two. I found 5. The numbers are the big ones. I don't know if this is 6 or 9, but we'll go with 9.
So let's look at the transform.
Please, that? Okay. Can you move? I can help you. But if you're okay, here we go. Lots of pom-poms? Yeah. Two?
This is the accumulator of the transform cells. So that's a row, but I don't know the, yeah. This is the one I want. So this is the accumulator of the transform cells, but I don't know the order, so the order's not guaranteed. But if I look at the array of strings of survey response, the order is predictable. 1, 2, 3, 4, so I'll need this fourth argument.
That's another remote, but this is a remote for a game, not for games.
So I have this fourth argument now. And the parsed start time is going to be a function of this. I might need to debug this, but I'm going to try to do this without debugging it. So this is the source. So it should be 0, 1, 2.
Where's the blue button?
It should be start date. And then 0, 1, 2, 3 should be end date.
Here, you do. You take it.
And I should be able to split by space.
Now we just need 2, 3, and 4, and we're done with our puzzle.
Take the second value.
You know where? Oh, look at all those pops you shoved in there.
Now what I'm going to do just for testing is check and make sure I have the expected start date.
We're missing number 3.
This is just a low fidelity testing technique.
Don't step on the puzzle.
So try running the build.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Cannot read split of undefined.
You want to do the ABC one or the shape one? Shape one? Okay, let's get the shape one. See, these are shapes. You know some of your shapes. Like, what's this? Triangle. Good.
Well, I'm not sure when the survey response string would be empty.
Bubbles. Yeah, I don't know where the other side went. What's this? What's this?
Let's just do a quick null check.
Heart. Good.
Hopefully that addresses it.
What's this?
Cannot read split of undefined.
Cloud.
2079 20.
Cloud.
Alright, so this is not saying that. Ooh.
What's this?
Yeah, I'm really not sure when these guys would be undefined, but
Over here.
alright, we can optionally chain it.
What's this?
Because this is saying that the survey response string does exist, but that there's no second or third entry in it, which is really strange to me. So while that's running, I will check how this argument is used elsewhere. It looks like it's never actually used, so that's weird.
Octagon. That's a hard one. We won't learn that one yet. What's this? Star. Goes here. Good. What's that? I don't know where this one is. Do you know where this one is? That is an X. Don't really know how that's a shape and not a number or a letter, but that's okay. Oh, is this it? Nope, it's too big, doesn't fit. See? Gotta find the other one. So that's an actual X from the alphabet puzzle. Here's the X for the shape puzzle. Look, we finished our shape puzzle. We're gonna have you do these after, now that I showed you. You wanna do ABCs? Okay. You wanna do the ABCs?
That accumulator find function is kind of interesting. I think it's sort of supposing an order exists, so but I don't have time to look into that.
Hey, look, I have a G. G is
Okay, so I don't know where I console logged.
You have twos. There you go. Good job. That one's too big. This one goes on this puzzle.
I don't know where I did a console log. I think it's like
Right here.
existing in the past wrangle.
Oh, you want help? Okay. Look, we'll see. Watch. See? X. You see how the shape is the same? That will help the puzzle.
Bye-bye. Go bye-bye. That's right.
Alright. So some duplicates were found. So
Is that a star?
I think I can deal with that
It
later.
goes up here. The shape is the same. Good job, Samuel.
So let's just look at the final output.
Okay.
So we don't have start date.
V as in Van, do
That is unexpected. Let's look at a single wrangled file. Start. Oh, you know what? I don't expect start date. I expect like completion. Yeah, completion time minutes. Okay.
Circle there. Yeah.
So these numbers are plausible.
Triangle is this. This is triangle.
But I'm suspicious because there's not a single case where it's over 10.
Good. Here. Good job. You did it.
Yeah, so it almost seems like the index got displaced with one of my 1 to 10 questions. Completion time minutes.
Here.
Oh, this is that first survey. Okay, so not a big deal. Let's look at the one where we know they took longer than 10. Ocean Cargo.
The star. Yes, it does. You're right. It goes
Completion.
There you go. You did it. You want your apple juice to celebrate? Where is it? Here you go.
Yeah, these are some really strange calculations here. Completion time minutes. Oh, right. I was just checking.
You did it. No.
I was just checking this.
Hey, what's this? S. Good.
So the parse start time,
Here. But this.
we saw the example here, 0:52. So it's still unexpected because this is sort of implying almost everyone started before the 10-minute mark, which is not the case. COVID. Yeah, these are displaced somehow because this should be the grit response. Personality, grit, education. So I think this. Whoa.
Hey. It does look like a triangle. I can see how that could be confusing. So how about next time I ask what letter is this? Or what shape is this? Would that be helpful? It goes here. Good.
Transformer completion time.
We have P. Penguin. Good. P as in
You know what? I really don't need generated child matchers, so this could simplify things.
Z.
I just give it a different out label.
And W. Look, we finished the alphabet one. Who's here? You see the numbers? Look at the numbers. We have
Okay, so now I'm going to match on start date
5, 6, 7, 8.
and completion time minutes will be my output column name.
Uh-oh, careful. Figure out how to put it back together after you take it apart.
Okay.
You did good. Uh-oh, it fell off.
And I think what we're discovering here is that this order is not reliable.
What color? Green.
Which totally makes sense because that varies by administration. Yep. Okay. So this index right here should not be hard coded.
Color. White. Good. What color is this? Hey, look before you answer.
So in
Pink.
date.
Good job. What about this one? What color? Blue. Not everything is blue, you silly. What color?
transformer
It's yellow.
end date. Okay, so we will get the end date transformer and the index off of there.
I found some chalk. What color is the chalk? Green. Green chalk.
Okay.
1, 2.
And then for the parsed start time,
Peekaboo.
I should be able to take the cell value, the current value.
What color is the ball? Look. Okay, what color?
Okay,
Yellow.
so
Good.
let's try this approach. Hopefully get some more reasonable completion times.
Oh, what I found. What is this? Bell. Bell.
So while that runs, I'm sort of looking through this stuff. Collector, that's going to be good. Industry goods. SurveyMonkey region.
Fork.
Oh, that's what the actual, so that's what we're tabbing, not what we're generating. So tabbing SurveyMonkey region. Let's see if that's true. All right, so the new output is ready. I think it's just region, huh? Region. So, no, it's SurveyMonkey region. Look at that. Okay. Is there another region? Region. That's the one region. Okay, so we tabbed in on SurveyMonkey region. That's correct. I don't know how this stuff happened. Although I do usually sort this wrangled output. Sort by... Yeah, but usually the title row still comes first. That's really unexpected. Title row should always come first. Alright, anyway. That's end date. Nope, don't expect it. Completion time. Start. So these end dates they look wrong. They look wrong.
Red pom-pom. Good. That is a red pom-pom. Good job.
So I'm pretty annoyed by the lack of completion time in minutes.
What did Kitty say?
Completion time in minutes.
What does the doggy say? Whoa, whoa, whoa. Two trolls. Good say. What color is the troll? It has multiple colors. What colors are there? Hugs. That's nice of you. Giving the troll a hug.
Ah, it's because I called it a transient column, which it's not anymore.
How many?
We are no longer consuming and discarding it. We're actually trying to retain it.
You get it?
Okay, so let's build again. I'm still disturbed by the...
Oh, thank you. Oh, careful. Don't step on the puzzle.
in time being transformed.
You don't want to break
So I don't run any transformation there. But if it was a whole column, yeah, okay, it would make sense if it was a one column transform, because this comes first in the array. So hopefully it was just a pushing it over a column. Yeah, that's the end date I expect. Completion time in minutes. So now, of course, this is not actually the completion time in minutes, but this is our sanity check for start date. So this is correct now.
Hey, City. Can Mommy go to the bathroom? I'll be right back.
Let's copy this. See, this is where I'm a little bit confused. So the PM is not there actually in the CSV. It's like Excel is reformatting it. So I think this is the actual time. 1746. Yeah. So this is the actual time, and then up here, Excel is applying some opinionated formatting. It's changing 1746 into 5:46 p.m. and so forth. Okay, so in my script, this will be the actual time that I have. Okay, so we trust parse time now. Trust parsed in time. So can JavaScript parse this? Invalidate. Okay.
What you doing, sweet pea? You found the bubbles? Okay. What you doing with the bubbles?
I think we can just new date and set. Or new date equals new date.
When there's no
So new
bubbles,
date
honey,
dot
you can't blow.
time or get time. Okay. No, get time. Okay.
You did it.
Now I would like to set hours. Let's do the get time first so we can be clear. Get time. Okay, now I like to set hours. And it should be the 17 here. Okay. Okay. So it seems reasonable. Okay.
No, what do you need help with, baby? What do you need help with? Want to stick it back in there? Okay, see? Look. You were able to do this. You were doing it earlier. Cool. Here you go. What do you want me to do? Want me to put it back on? Here you go. Cool. Good.
Is this allowable?
Good job. You did
Nope.
it. You did it. Okay. You don't want it? You want mommy to have it? Okay. Thank you. It's very nice. Can I get this?
So that says 159, and this says
Here you go. Brush hair. Hey, it's almost time for lunch. What do you want? Do you want sandwich or mac and cheese? You want mac and cheese? Okay.
33
It's going
is
to take like
approximately
10
now
minutes to make.
03337.
Ugh.
033.
Okay, let's go make your mac and cheese.
Okay, so neither of those resembled now. So it appears to have worked in both syntaxes. I can set hours with or without parens around new date. I think I will just do kind of the verbose, kind of safer way. What is this? Blinking. Don't really know why it's blinking. Okay, so
Mama cooked mac and cheese for baby.
so parse time.
You have to cook it. You want to touch it? Look. This is before it's cooked.
Okay, so this will be
Ooh, what about? Don't take it. No. Just touch.
start it's like
Okay, time to cook.
this is like
Cooking. And then when it's done, it's going to be mac and cheese.
this is like a start time string.
Yeah. They're waiting for it to cook.
And it's actually an array. No, it's a single time. This is a end time. Okay, then we can have date start time, date end time, and then time difference is end time minus start time.
It's not an apple, honey. It's a gummy worm. But I'll give you a little bite.
And then we will have time difference to minutes. We'll do that separately. Okay, so start time equals new date. Set hours. And actually, we'll go ahead and split it with a colon. Okay, so this is now an array. This is now an array. The question mark is a TypeScript feature. So if you write JavaScript and not TypeScript, you might not be familiar with that operator. It's just a null check. It's just it's called optional chaining. It is a TypeScript language feature. So we'll set hours of our start time 0. And then we will, this again is verbose, it might not be needed, but just to be safe, set minutes. I could potentially write this in a single line, but I don't want to. Rs start time 1. And you can see a lot of my auto-completion is much better than out-of-the-box VS Code functional auto-completion with like IntelliSense. It's much more than that, and it's using a plugin called Tab9, which uses artificial intelligence to predict what you're going to type. It gets familiar with the way I type things, and it sort of knows the way I will express certain things. Argument of type string is not assignable to parameter of type number. Yeah, but you're not a string. You're a string array. Wants me to parse. Okay, that's fine. I can map s to parse. And these should be integers only. Okay. Alright, so now these are no longer an array of strings, they are an array of integers. Okay. That's Hungarian notation. ARRI is an array of integers. If we have TypeScript, do we need Hungarian notation? Not really. So it's hugely beneficial in JavaScript, but it is still beneficial in TypeScript at debugging time and runtime, where you lose all of your VS Code tooling. And frankly, your VS Code tooling, TypeScript can't always determine what it should be, so sometimes the wording there is helpful. Okay, cool. So this is looking good. So let's make this end time. All right, now my date end time is a date. Okay, so this is not how you subtract dates, apparently. Okay, let's see. So how do we subtract dates in JavaScript? Okay, so you get the millisecond representation. Date 1, date 2. Where's date 1? Oh wow, this is a date. This is an allowed date syntax the whole time. What's up, baby? I don't really want a marker, thank you though. Yeah, look at that. We didn't have to do any of that parsing. New date just works. Okay. Hey, you don't need to yell, buddy. Sam, you don't need to yell. See if we've had any comments up until now. Cool, so this just got much easier. I didn't think I'd be doing this much scripting today, but that's alright.
Come on, you can bring your fork.
So,
Good. Let's go wash your hands. Wash your hands.
you actually don't want to split that at all. Get that column in the map. Map S to new date of S. Map does not exist on type string. That's fine. I just want to make sure I'm not passing in like undefined. Hopefully it'll throw. Okay, good. Invalidate. Alright, good. So, some kind of like thing going on with my laptop and laptop right there.
Thank you, Sam. You gonna go to food chair? Good job.
I'm not sure if y'all can see that. Okay, so if I have a string,
Get your mac and cheese, okay? Yeah.
I'm just going to try catch. And if there's an error, then I consider you have an invalid end time or start time. And if you have an invalid end time or start time, I'll just leave the, from a statistical point of view, I'll just leave the row blank. So this is new date, get time.
You want fork or spoon?
Okay. And here's new date. get time.
You want the mac cheese? Let's get it a little bit cooler because it's really hot right now. Cool down. It's very hot, yes. Blow. We got to blow. Make it cold. Cool down. Otherwise, it's too hot to eat. It won't be ouchy. It'll hurt.
Okay.
Are you ready? You want to blow? Blow.
So we'll try that. Catch.
Mac cheese. It's still hot? Okay.
So everyone takes non-zero time to complete the survey. So I'm not actually using that as a measure. I'm going to use JavaScript's falsy feature to blank out the cell. Okay, so this is your time diff. If there's any error, then this is the time diff. Now, assuming that there is a time diff, then time diff minutes is equal to minutes, or an empty string. 2 minutes does not exist on type number. Okay, 2 minutes does not exist on type number. Ink time diff is milliseconds. Calculate the minute difference between dates. We should divide the time diff in milliseconds with 60 seconds. Yeah, so I just need to divide out. Man, my eye's really itching. Divide by 1,000. So I do the diff in milliseconds. Oh, this is the diff in milliseconds. So, what is it, nanoseconds then? This is the diff in milliseconds. It's confusing that it's telling me that this is the diff in milliseconds, and yet also this is the diff in milliseconds.
No, we need there. It's just to look. Just use your eyes to see.
I'm gonna trust that this is the diff. I'm actually not trusting this page at all, but I think it is milliseconds.
Drawing? You like to draw?
Alright, all these garbage pages, let's just test it ourselves. New date minus new date. Set minutes. Set minutes. 10. New date. Oh, all of that. No, hold on. Yeah. So I'm expecting to get 10 minutes worth of milliseconds.
We want to make sure it's not too hot. That's why you know. Make sure it cools down so that you can taste it and not burn your mouth. Should I tell them like a plan? That sounds like a good plan. What do you think? Okay.
Alright, something's going on funky there. 1,000 milliseconds and 1,000 milliseconds times 60 seconds would be 1 minute.
More nut cheese? Yeah.
So that would be 1 minute, and this would be 10 minutes. Oh no, we shouldn't divide by 10 minutes.
Yeah, we nut cheese.
Divide by 1,000 milliseconds. So divide by minutes. Divide by minutes.
Okay.
Subtract 10. What I get is 20.
You like it.
A new date
Yum.
minus a new date when you set 10 minutes. The current date, it's 11:40 a.m.
You don't want more? You want more nut cheese?
Why am I subtracting 10? Sorry.
Yeah.
It's 11:40 a.m. So I get a date of now, and I subtract if I set the minutes to 10.
It's still cloudy and
Yeah.
cold,
And then it gives me 30 minutes because I would be saying the time is 11:10.
Outside after nap. We're going to have nap after mac and cheese.
So it's milliseconds. 1,000 times 60.
You look tired. I saw you. Pork.
And I can do a slightly better test. Let's say type of not a number.
You got most of that in it.
That's wrong.
That's a little bit. Little bit.
Yeah.
More bite.
Okay. And we know it will interact with collectors. End time. So end date. And then I want completion. Use this X for interaction. Completion X collector. So we drop collector is collector. Yeah. So that would be n by n, or k by l. They can be different numbers. I would need to, because each of these is a boolean. Yeah. So we're unlikely to find the effect because it's going to spread it out. It's going to spread it out over. It's going to thin the sample. But we can still test. So we need to do it for each of these. This collector.
Mommy's gonna go grab a bite herself.
This is really bad because say 2-minute completion time on collector 1 and 1 minute completion time on collector 2. Those will be treated equally in a simple interaction.
Comfy. Are you comfy in your food chair?
Oh well, that's how the math works out. Okay. Is collector times completion. In Stata, there's no like end of line syntax. So Jen, that's all there is to it. This times 0 is not true. Okay. I don't know why I have 2 status open. And this is the wrangle output. Yeah, sorry, I locked it. That was boneheaded. In theory, I don't need to build all over again. I could just do the write CSV step. Oh well. We need to change this input delimited location. It needs to point to copy path. It needs to point to the wrangled output. Copy path, Linux style. Let's just copy the path. Okay. Jen is higher ed if missing education.
Apple juice and water?
I don't know if that's
Are
fair.
you all done with mac cheese?
Oh, if not missing education. Okay, that's fair. So we assume that you are not higher ed, and then if your education is over 5, we say you're higher ed. Oh gosh, all that NVOI stuff. I'm not a super fan of that. I might rewrite all that, or I might leave it alone just because I don't want to have to rewrite it. But it's not a really great syntax.
Let's go to your room.
Completion time in minutes.
Wanna go
Oh,
get
did I
books?
misspell minutes? Okay. Completion time in minutes.
Go to chicken room.
Skeptical about this. Yeah, this completion time in minutes is like more correct. 7:15. Yeah. Okay. So these make sense. Completion time minutes. So why did that not end up in my final one? 56 was one response. I wonder if I can use the same matcher twice, or if that feels bad. But I'd like to be able to have end date, start date, and then I can just easily check if the computation was correct. Why was it correct? Yeah, why was it correct in the CSV but not when it got merged? Let's look if it's correct in the JSON file. Completion time in minutes. Completion time in minutes. Yeah, these look good. 7, 3, 4. These all look good. Let's do just that. Final step one more time, write CSV and merge files. All right, let's find a specific case. We saw 56, right? Completion time in minutes. Did I not see that? Maybe the data looks wrong because I was hallucinating the whole time. That would be a good explanation. 57 we saw, okay. So that's a peculiar case, so it should be identifiable. .57, here we are. So this is the respondent ID, which is also the unique key. So now we can easily find that specific row. Okay, it is 57, and this is in the wrangled output. Okay. So the fact of the matter is I just skip right past it because I'm a blithering idiot. So the wrangler is working perfectly fine. Okay. That gives me a lot less stress in my heart. So we are now ready to commit this. Okay. And I think, frankly, we're ready to commit all this for the time being. We can come back and work on the statistics, but we can at least commit where we are at. Yeah, okay, so this will be git commit gem feet completion time minutes and initial commit do files. Okay, great. Push that. Now we need to clean up the do files because they're wrong. Okay. They're not wrong, they're just incomplete. And then some of the variables are poorly named. At least I give a good comment on what everything means. You can go read this. Not all of it is central to the current paper. So VOI is variable of interest, IOI is an index of interest. I use them for robustness checking so that it's not, so the index of interest checks the robustness of the sensitivity of the wording of the question of the variable of interest. Because you could just have wording effects, right? But the index of interest is highly correlated to the variable of interest, which means the general trend is there, relatively invariant to wording. We have the completion collector, and now I'd like personality factors as well. But I don't think I need to do anything with them. I think those personality factors are already set up in the Stata file. All right, so let's get to the regression, and then we can come back here and probably muck around with variables if something's missing. Okay, so here's a basic exploration. The first thing we do for the basic exploration is we run our variable file. So let's copy the path. Running the variable file already clears it, so we don't need to clear. Okay. And this is the basic exploration from a very unrelated study. There's a more related study, so basic exploration of the survey data. Nope. IOI, VOI, yep. So the first, like I said, the first thing I do is I check that those are correlated. And in the prior data, they were about 62.5% correlated. So let's grab all this stuff, and then we'll probably not use all that stuff. I have a separate OLS file. All right, good. So I can kind of, so basic exploration, I'm just doing sort of random stuff to get a feel for the data. And then I'll do like a formal, I have a formal process for my ordinary least squares. So summarizing all the data is cool, but I don't know if I need to do that. Is collector ambiguous? Yep. Because I need to do it for all of them, which is really lame. I'm wondering if I need to interact them at all, or if I can just include them as multiple independent variables in it, and if it captures the effects well enough. So one effect is for which collector you are, and then the other effect is holding constant which collector you are. Which see, but I don't know if that holding constant is done properly. That's why I wanted to interact them. Because we know they interact, we know that certain surveys take longer. I could do normalized by. Maybe do a step regression and ordered least squares. Could normalize per administration. Seems to be a bit of a hassle, but that would work. If we normalize per administration, isn't that equivalent to using an administration Boolean? Yeah. But it's equivalent to interacting them. We need to interact them. course, everything's done in Jupyter and Python, right? I really should get on that train. Here I am using Stata. I mean, if I can rule out that collectors are significant at all, it's kind of cheating, isn't it? Because in my past study, collectors were insignificant. It's not even really collectors that I care about. It is it's the administration. Do I have a different variable for that? Let me look in my... I just have collectors, which are highly correlated to the administration. Right, so I'm going to leave it as a to-do. Yeah. Time captures administration because I never had multiple surveys going on at the same time. Interact administration with completion. Collectors and time may proxy administration. Okay, but in the meantime, how terrible is it if I... Yeah, it's so terrible. So in the meantime, I shouldn't use this interaction variable at all. So below comment is pseudocode. And I'll give it 3 minutes to see if I can quickly write that loop for each collector. Making go through all the values of a variable. For I in 0, 1. Maps the distinct values of var name to 1, 2, 3, and up to the number of distinct values. It's kind of like tab gen. Feels like tab gen. Okay, so this is just a number loop. Levels of. Okay, so that's still like tab gen. So it looks like this for each. Probably try the levels of. of local levels. I'm actually going to try and just use, when it blinks, it really freaks me out. Let's make sure no one has asked any questions so far. Okay, cool. So I already tabbed gen is collector. So I'm going to try and use is collector, and if that fails, I will try levels, and if that fails, I'll leave it as a comment and move on. Okay, so for each one of local levels, instead of that, we're going to try for each one of we're going to try for each one of is collector. Whatever if var name is equal to 1. All right, and what we'd like to do yeah, if you have completion time. And it's not equals 1, but it's not missing. Not missing is the syntax. Yep. If not missing completion, and they should never be missing. Okay, I guess we can write it, but it should never happen. Hello.
Hello. What are you doing?
I am streaming.
Do you ever do anything but work though?
Okay, if you're not missing completion, and if you're not missing is collector, which you should never be, but whatever, we'll just go ahead.
Wait. No. Did I mention how much I love that you work all this time because you have money to buy pastries? Is it pastry day today?
Go for it.
No, really.
Do it.
Have y'all eaten?
I had one, Sam had one, I think Tina had one, yeah. Mm-hmm. I want to generate a variable if it doesn't already exist. I think this is exactly what a local variable would be for. String build a variable name. Dynamic variable names, yep. Local J, okay. So let's try local. Collector X, which is an interaction variable. So we'll create this interaction variable, and that's going to equal completion underscore X underscore is collector. But like which one? It's like which collector. And that should be the value of collector. Looks like that's the syntax. So I want to generate collector X. And I want to generate it if it doesn't exist. No, I should generate all of them ahead of time. Yeah. I should generate all of them ahead of time and then set them. This feels like something that should definitely be done in the JavaScript. I should just loop through all the collectors. And so then we know that they don't exist. Generate collector X. Okay, so what we did is we generated collector X. And now we need to generate collector X equals 0, right? When you generate it, you set it to 0. Yeah. So generate collector X if it's not missing. We should generate collector X equals completion times this collector. I'm doing all this and I think we can just multiply them. No, I don't. Okay. All right, let's try it, Stata. This is about to definitely not work. Invalid syntax. I know, sorry. I don't even know how to Stata. Okay, so this I'm gonna say we should do in JavaScript. All right, so we will ignore that investigation for today, as curious as it is. IOI, BOI. So we have about 0.63 correlation. Great. Which is slightly better than it was before. Demonstrate strong cross correlation within IOI. Yeah, that's fine. We already believe it. Demonstrate innovation bias. Okay. Yep, P's are low. Innovation bias is still a thing. Okay, managers are more positive than non-managers. This is an interesting one. Is this true? Nope. Look at that P. The coefficient is positive, but P is insignificant. Being a manager doesn't predict nationalism. P is too high. Being a manager doesn't predict nationalism. But again, it's positive correlation. It's more significant than the other chart. Nationalism is weakly and weirdly associated with pro-alt education. No. 549, I am not hold on. Did I actually get that on my clipboard? Oh. Well, I would actually go for weak correlation on that. It's very weak, but it's like, yeah, I mean, kind of like my comment says, it's like it's worth noticing. Higher, if specifically Christian. Let's do multiple right wing effects, multiple regression. It's still there. The nationalism effect is stronger than the Christianity effect. Right-wing multiple regression. It's kind of interesting, right? So the ideology thing is going to play in with the personality thing as well. It builds off the prior paper. So in the prior paper, I noticed an ideological thing, and one of the potential explanations was like Kahneman, Daniel Kahneman style, and it was that these people are reacting rather than thinking through it, and they're reacting quickly with their cognitive biases sort of system one overriding in the survey. They're just reacting very quickly, and this would make conservatives oppose alternative education, even though if they slowed down and thought about it, conservatives intellectually, system 2, should favor the free market, freedom, and should favor alternative education. And I think really it is the innovation bias here that's driving something. Because if you ignore innovation bias, the conservatives are behaving conservatively. Christianity and nationalism are positively associated with the variable of interest, which is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how favorable are you to the statement that alternative credentials can qualify a candidate for an entry-level position, like a career position. So here I'm thinking about like a programmer. They do not have a college degree, but they do have some alternative credential. It could be a portfolio, it could be Udacity Nano degree. I actually specify Udacity Nano degree in the survey. Cool, no comments or questions yet. Higher economic progressivism, statism. All right, so this is regulation. So this is more ideological variables. And here's weird. If you're in favor of regulation, you are in favor of alternative credentials. Seems backwards, right? Let's do a multiple regression. Even in the multiple regression, and this regulatory effect is stronger than right-wing effects. It's a higher coefficient and more significant. And this is where I say maybe is a personality thing like openness. I start using time, but we're not going to care about time. Nonlinear stuff, we're going to ignore all that. Those are like sociological controls like age and gender. Yeah. So we will $29 non-binary samples. That's kind of cool. And I have about I have 2,200 samples. Yo, this is really good. What the heck?
I've never seen that.
Sweet. More coffee. Yeah, I could write a whole other paper on the non-gender non-binary effect. So I have 29 people that I surveyed, Jess, that report that they are gender non-binary.
Isn't that weird? How many people did you send it out to?
About 2,200.
Okay.
So about 0.1% of respondents, which is actually like what sociologists would say is about correct, right?
Well, yeah, when you said 2,200, that's definitely different than me thinking you send it out to 100 people.
No. Yeah, that would be like, if I send it out to 100 people.
It's like, what is the world coming to?
Yeah, like you did something wrong, dude. But that will be a different paper.
So what? You're showing this 29 months?
See, it might relate to personality or ideology.
Yeah, I think there is a correlation in both. Like, I don't think that would be both things.
Okay. No observations is reported non-binary.
Non-binary is included in the no observation.
No, it's just the regression I ran had no observations. It seems a little bit strange, but I have no idea why that would be the case.
We don't include these.
Yeah, it's like an interestingly powerful negative effect. And I wonder how much of that will be partialed out. Negative uncorrected. Because after correction it could be spurious for sure. But what is that regression that I just ran anyway? Okay, so those are ideology. This is like very distantly, probably not, but maybe. Special regression 13. I don't really know why that's a special regression. This is all the gender corrections. Okay. So basically we have two things left to do. One is to do personality check and to do standard controls. I think we'll mostly do the standard controls in the OLS, like age, gender, all that kind of like standard boring stuff, race, ethnicity, region. I mean, some of those effects are interesting, but they're not really interesting in the sense they're not unique to my study. And we're going to go over them anyway, so I don't see the point in doing them in this basic exploration. And I like to keep the basic exploration kind of short with the really interesting stuff. Time checks I do think are interesting, but I can't roll with time in this one. Time effects will be significant, but they'll knock out my personality effects. I mean, I guess that's worth checking. I'm fairly confident time effects will dominate, but who knows? But let's check personality. Okay, so reg BY. Yeah. Personality multiple regression. Personality plus ideology multiple regression. Do time effects dominate personality? And then the last question, how does this relate to hiring and firing or macro or industry growth trends? And that's the paper. As soon as I can answer that stuff. So the personality multiple regression. So we're dealing with a couple hundred samples. What is this one that says 0 observations? There's no grit in here? Ooh. That's actually a red flag for my analysis. Don't think I can proceed on the analysis with this in mind. Yeah, definitely have grit. Okay, so the thing is that it's float. Even if we, yeah, I think it's considering it a string, and it won't parse float. Yeah, it needs to parse float. Okay, that's not super scary actually. Stata parse float. I mean, I guess we could just like multiply by like 100. And it wouldn't be a float. Yeah, it's really common to measure on scale 0 to 100. I don't know why Duckworth does scale of 0 to 10, but then presents it as a float. Convert string variables to numeric variables. Maybe I can just destring, huh? Okay. We will generate. See, I have this administration variable. I guess I can always check like that, because that administration is detectable because the questions are different. So this is sort of like ad hoc administration detection, which can totally be done. Which can be interacted. That might be the easiest way to do it, is just ad hoc detect. There's only like 5 or 6 administrations, just ad hoc detect them. And then expand the interaction by hand, which kind of blows, but it's only 5 or 6 multiplied by, yeah, it's only 5 or 6. And you can multiply them all by completion time, so it'd be one each. Okay, whoa. What we want to do is generate, replace string variables in var list with numeric value variables. Replace it in place? Yeah, why not? So dstring replace. I used dstring before. Okay, apparently not. I don't know. Dstring personality underscore grit replace. So let's just see if this works in terminal. Personality grit contains non-numeric characters. Oh, kill me. It's because of the periods. I can just re-wrangle this because the responses are to 2 decimal places, so I can just multiply by 100. Generate numeric variables as type float. Floaty boy. What the heck, man? This is too much to tab gen, for sure. I think dstring might be barking up the wrong tree. This is why I try to move as much of the wrangling into JavaScript as possible, because Stata is just like, ugh. Awesome at regression, but really not good for variable manipulation. Yeah, so I answered my own question. So we're going to re-wrangle it. Do it again. Okay. Got this output. And I believe I just multiply it by 100. Okay. So I don't need to do that. Okay. Column transformations typescript. So we have grit. Here's personality grit. Need a transformer function. Okay. Okay, so we parse float, and if it's a valid, if the parse thing produces a valid number, then we do times 100. And if it's not a number, return an empty string. All right, let's do it again. So we're running the build all over again. Let's see him left 5. People share my post, yay. Okay, maybe it's done. Cool, so we're done wrangling. It just affected the survey where I actually ask about personality, which is exactly what I expect. So let's go to my Stata, boom, to the basic exploration, and we want to clear it out and clear out the data and get the new data, and then see, boom. Very cool. So now I will, oh yeah, is it bro? Bro! Which is the Stata shorthand for browse, which I think is hilarious. Bro! So now we look for, what are we looking for? We are looking for grit. Looking for grit. I said I'm looking for grit. Looks like it's always empty. It's not good. Oh, it's not always empty. Here we go. Yeah, so there's a grit score. Isn't it funny? You wonder, like, how do people come up with like scores like these? Well, I just multiplied it by 100 because I didn't want to parse it. That's the difference between the Van de Veer grit score and the Duckworth grit score. With me, you get 100 times more grit. Okay. Bro! So now that we got grit, we can do VOI personality. And that's why variable naming is kind of cool. So when you wrangle it, you normalize those names, and now I can use this Stata. Bam! And I get the multiple regression. So the R squared is very low. So personality, how is that omitted? Hold on, let me summarize this real quick, because I don't see why neuroticism would be omitted. Neuroticism, it's the only one that ends in an M, so it has to be this guy. Man, imagine being 100% neurotic. That'd be, whew. And I guess these personality effects are probably nonlinear, huh? So I might want to take a squared transform. Actually, I definitely want to take a squared transform, because this grid result, hold on, let me look at the top line grid result, because I do not agree with that logically. Okay, so the top line result is positive. It's just after you look at all of the other personality. Openness needs to be positive for sure. Okay, there's the expected correlation. Okay. What if I generate a square? I do expect there to be marginal decreasing. What? I did something wrong. Oh, sorry. So the adjusted R squared increased. So it is a value add. R squared almost doubled, but I care more about the adjusted R squared, which also went up. Wow, and you get a negative linear effect, which strikes me as wrong. So let's add a cubic and see if that solves. Again, our R squared went up, adjusted R squared went up again. One could totally imagine that if the cubic effect was extraneous, adjusted R squared would go down because you're adding more factors, and if it's truly extraneous. But actually, the factor significance of every factor got better when I introduced a cubic. The weird part for me is that even though the model improves, the linear effect of openness is negative. It's really counterintuitive for me. At least the marginal effect is positive. Still counterintuitive. I would expect an Anada curve. This is like a attenuating negative trend. Okay. So maybe cubics matter. Not super sure what this red text is about. Oh, okay. Yeah, I am. Did an invalid comment up there. So this is like my VS Code comment hotkey, but it's not correct. So I have to type the comments out. Very cool. So we got negative adjusted R squared, which is a very bad sign. Basically means this personality thing doesn't matter. Now if we look at the personalities which don't matter, is invalid was omitted. Which again, it should not be because it's not implied in the other personalities from a mathematical perspective. So let's look at the wrangler. See if some of that invalid data still got through. Nope. Somebody said like nope or something. Or no. I don't remember what they said. Okay, it is kind of implied. It is kind of implied because if you have personality at all, you're not invalid. There should still be cases with grit. Yeah, so this guy has grit. Okay, so we can do a short this should not thanks. Huh?
Alright, fine.
Variable of interest and grit. And I should still be able to get invalid. Where's grit? Right, sorry, hold on. Boom. Alright, you're gonna make me write the whole thing out? I think I'm doing the shorthand wrong. Personality, grit. So we got the top line, short regression. Now personality, invalid, which is hilarious to me because it's like you have an invalid personality. Is invalid. Personality is invalid. Okay. Okay, so we can get them. We can get them together. Wow, and being invalid. This is great. His invalid was like an intelligence proxy, and this is saying that people, under that interpretation, low intelligence folks are supporters of variable of interest. Also, one would think that invalid personality, insofar as it reflects not completing the survey properly, is associated with grit. So let's test that. So here grit is the output variable, personality is invalid. Yeah. Whoa. That's exactly the opposite direction I would have expected. It's super effective at predicting that you have grit. What the hell? Having an invalid personality. I'm gonna have to write that down because that's too confusing. I don't know if that's I don't think that's relevant to my paper, but it's super weird. Is anyone even watching this? One concurrent viewers, I think it's just me. Or there could be one other person, I don't know. If there's one other person watching this and you can explain what happened here, please let me know, because that's super weird. Alright. Well, I mean, given that they're so correlated, it's now less of a mystery why grit becomes relatively extraneous in this regression. Relatively extraneous in this regression. So let's just do regression VOI is invalid. See, that shorthand does work. I don't know what I misspelled earlier. Okay, so being invalid has an adjusted R-square 0.178, which is as much as... I'm so confused. So that was as much as... So adding grit actually reduces the explanatory power. Adding grit reduces total explanatory power. Not just adjusted explanatory power, but total explanatory power. That means that there's a spurious relation somewhere going on. Okay. This means we cannot rule out grit from a structural regression. We cannot rule out grit from a structural regression. Because if it has the power to single-handedly obliterate, it is invalid. We cannot rule out either in in a structural regression. Oh, you know what? It could be just sampling effects. Hold on. I don't know why I didn't think about that. Ah, crap. So for grit and is invalid, 216 observations. For invalid alone, 270. Okay, one sample difference. No, that does not explain the problem. It was like a big difference in sample size that could explain the significance change. So grit is confounding. I don't know why. And maybe using marginal and cubic effects could separate some of that out. And maybe using our other corrective variables can sort that out. So we can't rule it out of our ordinary least squares. Wow, my eyes are really itchy. Allergies for the lose. Cold brew for the win. All right, cool. So let's try the personality thing without grit. because we know that grid is confounding invalid, it could be confounding the whole gamut. Copy var list. All right, so with everything, something happened. I didn't catch all the same variables somehow. Yeah, I know why, because the openness variables got generated later. Oh, is openness in there twice now? Open, 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 open. Yeah, I need to drop openness. That's fine. In the regression, it'll just be considered collinear and dropped anyways. Okay. So copy var list, so reg. And look at that. The r squared went up. R squared went up with less variables. Not the adjusted r squared, which is intuitive, but the total r squared, which is really unintuitive. Okay, 1836 versus 055. Okay, no, now it dropped. So now we got 1836, which is actually like borderline academic worthy once you add it in with the other factors. Assuming it doesn't get partialed away when you add in the other factors. So grit here is positive, which is logical, fits structurally, but it's weak. But it's actually not as weak as these guys. But let's drop grit and just see what happens. Grit, 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 grit. Because it was confounding invalid. 1836 to, so we go down. So we still want grit. On its own or in a simple regression, it's confounding. But once you take everything into account, it does add to total. Does it add to adjusted? 1515 versus 1540. It does not add to adjusted, but it does add to total. Whoa, sorry. 1836 is with grit. Yeah. So it adds, it's arguably negligibly, 0.0025 adjusted r squared. So arguably negligible, but it does add. Now, these openness variables are super weak. And I mean that technically, I'm not just slandering openness. So let's drop the cubic first, as well as the one that is just a synonym. And look, the linear effect goes away before the marginal effect. So I think we need marginal effects. Yep. So basic exploration indicates that we need marginal effects. So get confounds the invalid thing. Okay, personality plus ideology and multiple regression. Okay, hold on. First, let's do, right, personality multiple regression. Personality less grit reduces r squared total and adjusted, so we keep it for further research. Anytime there's a comma so, you can probably break the line. Okay, and also, here's another learning. Also, linear openness is weaker than marginal openness. So we need marginal personality effects. Problem. I don't know if we really need cubic, but at least we need marginal. I could take or leave cubic. All right, and can I reproduce that with this function? Here I can reproduce that marginal is more important than linear. Can I also reproduce that removing grit lowers r squared? (1) 829 1577 (1) 829 1577 reduces both. Okay. So then what I was seeking to prove QED with these two commands. That'll prove it. All right, let's do this personality and ideology multiple regression. We're calling these all ideological variables. We can throw in reported non-binary. It's kind of hard to make a case that that's an ideological variable. We're going to leave it alone. It has a sample size of 29 anyway. I think that would be an interesting, like, its own study, but I'm not trying to conflate that right now. What else do we have for ideological variables? Religious. There's in. Okay, I think I might know. Yeah. Because I was starting the glob and not ending it, and it doesn't end with that string, so that's what I was doing wrong. Okay, so this can be considered an ideological variable too. And let's just add in the non-linears. So we have Christianity, regulation, religion. I'm not sure if it's religion or religious, so we'll do religio. Personality, American. This would be sort of like the grand reveal, at least as far as the basic exploration is concerned. We know that technology bias is a thing, and I think that is. I think we can innovation bias, and I think we can consider that an ideological variable. If I recall correctly, the artificial intelligence one is way better than the crypto one. Yeah, so, well, I mean, 000 versus 001, so way better is an overstatement, but it is better. It's also a stronger effect. Okay, so I'll consider this AI variable the ideological representation of anti-innovation bias, MVOI. Not variable of interest AI. And its nonlinears. This is not the actual regression, but I will run it. Because the actual regression, I need to expand personality, as we stated, is important. NVO, okay, not variable of interest AI. Favorability AI. Not variable of interest, favorability, AI. So it is a favorability question. And then is STEM an ideological variable? I don't know. Okay, no observations, so we can't do it. I think it's either Christianity or religion I didn't ask about in my personality survey. Let's see. Ocean COVID, CSV. Okay, so I didn't ask about either one. I did ask about favor AI. So that's unfortunate because those are definite ideological variables. And I'll go ahead and throw in STEM, just, well, if STEM isn't here. We'll throw it into desirable anyway. Is STEM. Beautiful, simple, love it. Is STEM. Come on. Is STEM. Is STEM, is not STEM, is unsure STEM. Okay. Okay, so we'll consider STEM an ideological variable, even though, it's kind of questionable. So this is kind of like desirable, but no samples. So what do we actually have to roll with? What if I drop personality? Do I have everything else? Okay. So I can call that ideological effects. .1457. 0.1457. Let's just put the whole thing out there. Total. One, 457. Ideological effects 1457. Adjusted of 0.08. So about 8% of whether or not you're favorable is ideological effects. That's actually pretty good. And this, one might argue there are cultural effects embedded within ethnicity and region. So those are being ignored. So we're actually separating out what you might call cultural effects from ideological effects, although clearly those are related. But we're actually separating them out. Because regional effects and ethnic effects are going to be a big deal, just based on past research. Based on past research, I will say that. As well as age. Okay, so you can argue that like there's an ideological effect embedded in age. But, like, there's so much more. There's so much more to age that's really tangential. Industry effects, favor regulation, reported income. I think I really hit the ideological variables. Yep. Exposure is going to be a big deal. Okay, so ideological effects. Now, and we're sort of building our model, so I can go ahead and start the tech file. It's going to be a trash, empty tech file. Alt short tech. We'll start with this bad boy that actually got accepted. Copy. Basic exploration within the data file. The way VS Code collapses that is not super helpful. So this is papers short. All that survey short. So let's start with this tech file. That's really all I need. Go over here. Boom, drop the tech file. Rename it to convention. Function F2, Control C, enter, enter, down. Function F2, Control V. So that's like the primary tech file, the working file. And then whenever I actually send it like to a journal, I will make a submission package that's in its own dedicated folder. So for example, preprint submission packages. These are actual tech files that were submitted in PDFs that were submitted. But this one down here is just sort of like the working one. Okay, Alt Ed Covid Tech Grit Ocean. Alt Ed Covid Grit Ocean. Okay, let's get rid of all these comments that I don't care about. I'll leave a comment that I'm using the Elsevier template, that's fine. Allowing images as figures, yep. Can get rid of that. Use package, use package. Begin the document in the front matter. So this is all sometimes called a preamble. What's the title of this? This is a working title for sure, I don't know. So this will be COVID or coronavirus? Let's check Google Trends. This is another academic hack. When you're searching for keywords, you want to, like even your title, you want to make sure that you are using the terms that everyone else uses. So Google Trends, so you will compare COVID. Of course I can't spell, so that's, you know, as an academic, a huge problem. Coronavirus. Boom. And it's a bit funny, right? Like for a while, coronavirus was a clear winner, but now they're increasingly the same. I actually have a paper where I use Google Trends data. And I wonder if I can use this. No, not for the current study. Anyway, so it appears to be the case that coronavirus is still the winner, but they are pretty close. So if some text like length constraint comes into play, I might pick that. Now that is Google Trends. Let's also make sure we check Google Scholar. And then let's go back to Google Trends and check one more, which is COVID-19, which is a touch more formal than COVID. Yeah, no one says that. Okay, cool. Just checking. Oh, this is not my paper on coronavirus. Oh, shit, I forgot. Whatever, this will still be useful later. Okay, so coronavirus has 240,000 results, COVID. Okay, so, yeah, and then quite a few people saying COVID-19. COVID-19, okay, so no one says COVID, at least in the academic world. You either say coronavirus or COVID-19. Okay. Let's look specifically for economics papers. So that's about 14,000 more people saying COVID in economics specifically. COVID-induced, see. There's economists for you, just abusing medical language. COVID-19 is still most of it. COVID-19 is about 18,000 of the 22,000. Okay, so among economics papers, it's like very, and what about coronavirus? Yeah, it's actually more common to say COVID-19 than coronavirus among economics papers. See, so there you go. That helps you know. Now I'm going to put this in a comment because this will be for my next paper, but it's still useful information. COVID-19 effects on interest in alternative post-secondary learning. COVID-19 effects on interest in. I can just do. There's more concise. It's not broadly affecting the learning. It's specifically affecting the interest in, or the favorability towards, and the attitudes with respect to. Okay. So we'll put that in a comment. COVID-19 effects, and then also the call for papers is the last thing we'll check. There are a bunch of call for papers, coronavirus, economics. Yeah, and see, the call for papers is referring to COVID-19. Economics and COVID-19. So totally fine that, yeah, so we're totally going to say COVID-19 and jot down a few of these, policy analysis and management, a few of these journals. I'll also be a big fan because they published me. Dang. So, this is definitely related. It looks like I'm kind of late though. Pan-European, meh. So I think this is already done. Cool. Has rapidly brought new economic policy issues to the fore. Yeah, great. Journal of Public Economics. Did I already write them down? All right. All right, so those are interesting, but I digress because that will be the next paper I write. So the current paper is not Cobbett effects on interest, but personality and ideology. Personality and ideological factors of alternative learning favorability. Yep, let's leave it at that. It's a working title. Okay, I'll just comment out these notes. I am always very open with my data and research, but if this gets submitted to a blind journal, they're not going to let me write that stuff. Okay, this is all fine. I think I can remove some of these comments. I'll leave some of those. We need a totally different abstract. This paper explores a novel data set to understand trends in public with a focus on employers. Boom, 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 boom. I build on past research to discuss the importance of, not even to discuss, but to solve an open question. And that's really important for academic work. So in the prior paper that was published, I said, hey, like there's this Kahneman-like effect, but it's really speculative. And so in this paper, I'm following up on that note, sort of a footnote in the prior paper. And I'm following up and I'm saying, hey, now I specifically tested it. So it's not just a speculative possible mechanism. It is either confirmed or disconfirmed. So I build on past research to solve an open question. And if you can frame it as like an interesting mystery or a problem to be solved, and you connect it to the existing literature. So you're not just like this island of information that no one cares about. You need to connect it to the existing literature. And there's tons of literature in alternative learning. It is a minority literature compared to just ordinary learning or traditional learning or university learning, high school learning. Even as a minority literature, it's still a huge field, alternative learning. Alternative learning, and then there's also the literature on personalities, just ginormous, and the relationship between learning and personality is ginormous. The economic perspective there, I would say, is underrepresented, but that makes it a perfect fit for this paper, right? So there's plenty of hooks to connect to literatures that people care about, but I'm still answering an unanswered question in an underrepresented field. I build on past research, and I can even call out the literature. I build on the alternative learning and personality literature. I build on the literatures of alternative learning and personality to solve. This doesn't need to be behind a comment. It's actually turning out all right. I build on. Okay. This study builds. Trying to take out the personal I. And Grammarly can help you with a lot of this stuff. I'm doing this quickly and it'll all be rewritten. Like passive voice should be avoided is another tip. This paper explores a novel data set in equals, and let's count personality. Okay. Let's count personality. Grit. Come on, man. What? That's not our list. Okay. Count if not missing. Personality, grit. Okay, 216, and then I think I can squeeze out another sample because is invalid. 217. Okay. And then what about personality openness? Personality openness. 201. So we can go with 217 because the study as a whole, well, I mean, the study as a whole cares about the big boy that I would love to put in my. But the thing is it's a little bit disingenuous because the personality information is only collected for 217 observations. So I'm going to say 217, and that balances between the disingenuity of openness is only there for 201 and other information for thousands. Okay, this paper explores a novel data set, n equals 217, to understand trends. And I'll change novel to be unique because that same and original. Because I don't want anyone to flag me for like copying, and that was like the same introductory sentence in my other paper. But I still wanted to mirror that approach because that one got published, so it's a good model. I still want to use it as a model but not copy it. This paper explores and I'll also swap out explores. This paper exploits. No. I mean, that's a thing people like to say, but that's really a misuse of the exploitation term. This paper leverages, interrogates, investigates. I like investigates. This paper investigates an original data set to understand. I don't understand trends. To understand public and employer disposition toward alternative post-secondary learning. The study builds on the literature of alternative learning personality to solve an open question about to reconcile an open, an existing, and apparent. Reconcile an apparent. To reconcile to make it reasonable, the counterintuitive result that conservatives are opposed. Solve. All right. So I like that. I like the idea of solving or reconciling. To solve, this is a bit awkward wording, but I'll revisit it. To solve an apparent contradiction The study builds on the literatures of alternative learning and personality to solve an apparent contradiction where conservatives reject alternative learning. This paper specifically tests whether personality is a solving mechanism. E.g., ideologically, they support, but when reacting, anti-innovation, conservative bias dominates. Reacting quickly in a survey. So that's what we're testing for, really. We're saying, hey, conservatives should ideologically support free market, open, competitive, unaccredited, alternative education. Free market, right? We should support that. But in the survey, and actually it's interesting because those basic checks that I did, the conservatives, the right-wing effects were positive. So it might just be a matter of data. But I think I even recall in the past that was the case, and that the freaky part was the regulatory effect and the innovation effects, that conservatives were anti-innovation and pro-regulation, which was really weird. But anyway, we'll get into that more. It's very fuzzy. Okay, so we got this rough abstract. Keywords, whatever. Yeah, okay, so this is not really signaling. This is more like Big Five. Debt crisis matters, sure, why not? That all matters, okay. Introduction and description of data, we're going to need that. To do, cite old paper and make the problem to be solved clear. Results. We need a results section, of course. We can wipe this all out, though the text, we're just making a basic empty text file here. Oh, here's the text. Status quo bias, innovation bias, Excerpt from prior paper commented below. So this is actually very much this is very much the piece that we care about. I've got to use the bathroom, so I will be stopping streaming soon. Okay, so, dang, and they just went and did it like that. All right, fine. I'll do one of these. Okay, so we got that basic text file. What's up?
So are you live streaming?
Yeah, I'm live streaming, yeah.
So like, does that mean everything I'm saying right now is being recorded and put on YouTube?
Yeah.
That's so weird. That's why I was like, I don't want to interrupt. Hi, YouTube.
Very cool. So we have this basic text file outlined. And it was the model was the fact that we're building a model was the motivation for doing this. Results, conclusions, description of data. Yeah, this really should have like a model section. I actually think, so this is the preprint version. And I think it was like initially rejected because they're like, where's your methodology and your model? So the postprint will have that. And maybe that section needs retitling, but anyway. We have ideological effects, which I am distinguishing from cultural effects. Cultural effects include regional and ethnic, regional and ethnic effects. Non-cultural ideological effects include religiosity, Christianity, favorability to regulation, favorability to AI, which is a conservatism or anti-innovation bias proxy. Conservatism and anti-innovation. My dog over here is like freaking out. Religiosity, Christianity, favorability to regulation, favorability to AI, STEM and American. STEM employment measure, scientism proxy, and whether American education is important. This is like a nationalist or anti-foreign. This is like the gross part of the right wing anti-foreign proxy. There's like good conservatism and bad conservatism, right? And that one is the bad one. Religiosity, Christianity, favorability to regulation. Yep. And I think that basically captures it. Then there are personality effects. Ocean, which is ocean and grit. Then there are cultural effects, non-cultural ideological effects, personality effects, standard, sociological controls, age, really ethnicity falls in here, but I already have that separated out, age, gender, education, income. All right, so that is the note about the model that I wanted to make. So at a high level, that is what we're checking. How much is explained by personality and ideology? This does not include ethnicity and regional cultural effects. Okay, so then we have personality. Right, can't do that yet. I'm actually going to pause the stream there. See you later.